Hello, cruel world. This is Ace Vaughn Johnson from Faster Pussycat and LA Guns. Just letting you know you're listening to the Gary Brugman podcast. Rock and roll.
Yo, 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 it's your man, Big Daddy Roughneck. You're tuned into the Gary Brugman podcast. Prepare to be entertained.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 101 of the Gary Brugman podcast. Yes, 101 episodes so far. Man, tonight I got a good friend of mine. It's Lieutenant Randy Sutton. Whether you hear about this guy, he's got a good foundation that you need to hear about. So hold on to something tight because we'll be bouncing off all kinds of guardrails today. So let's get to it. What's up, Randy? How are you tonight, brother?
Oh, rock and rolling, man. Rock and rolling. A little sad about what's been happening here in Texas today.
Yeah, man. You know, Randy, I dedicate every episode of this podcast to somebody. And I had somebody I was going to dedicate it to, but tonight I'm going to go ahead and dedicate it to the children of Robb Elementary in the city of Uvalde, Texas, for all the kids and that teacher that lost their lives. And yeah, dude, it's horrible. That's only 75 miles from where I'm at.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio.
Yeah, this is madness. Once again, we have this horrendous tragedy where a madman who's only 18 years old, just like this punk up in New York, only 18 years old, goes on a rampage and kills innocents. And here we have, I mean, the most despicable thing a human being could do would be to take the lives of children.
Of children. And, you know, I mean, what I don't understand is, all right, he had an incident at the house where I believe he shot somebody. Then they chased him, and he ran into the school. But what was the purpose? I mean, the kids it wasn't like, I don't think it was premeditated. It didn't seem like it was. It seemed like he was trying to escape, and he just lost his mind, Randy.
Well, this is what we're going to have to find out. I mean, the investigation is, in the infancy. There's so many questions here. He killed his grandmother before this happened. What was this guy's history? What was his psychological history?
Right.
What was his criminal history? What was it that set him off today to do this incredibly tragic, this horrendous crime? So we all want to get to the bottom of it as soon as possible. But until there is a full investigation, we just don't know, and it's all conjecture.
And that's the hard part that these parents are going to have to go through. They're going to have to sit and wait until it's over and to find out what this guy's mental state was, like you said, what he was going through. And, in the meantime, they're just in limbo. They're just in limbo without having any information. And it's just a disgusting deed that some kid did. And, it kills me because these kids were just in school 2 days out from the end of school year, getting ready to enjoy the freaking summer. You know what I mean, Randy?
I know. And I tell you that, and then all I'm seeing now on the news, as I'm trying to glean whatever I can from this, is watching the posturing of the political realm. And they're screaming for reform, even though we don't even know what the situation is to even address it. But once again, we have politicians who are trying to, create their own legacy from the tragedies, and I just the lack of common sense that accompanies a tragic set of circumstances like this, and then watching politicians try and play this for their own political purposes. That to me is just foul.
And it is. And what was it that president said? Never let a good crisis go to waste. It's just it's how they think. And I don't understand how the left thinks. I don't understand why they do the things they do. I don't think I ever will. I used to think that everybody had a right to their own opinion and, two parties and, we don't agree on the same things. But, I've just come to realize lately that the left is actually turning evil. It's like a buddy of mine said it yesterday. We remained in the middle, and they just took the left and moved it so far over. You know.
Yeah.
But Randy, back in January, we were at the Great American Summit. I had a lot of great speakers there. Tony Verano. It was hosted by Anthony Michael Russo, who I just saw a couple of weeks ago here in San Antonio. Jason Redmond, and my brother Ryan Weaver. And at that event, I saw you, and you had a Wounded Blue T-shirt and some sneakers. And I'm like looking at you, and I was like, who is this guy? I know this guy. Who is this guy? And I couldn't. It was killing me. And then I heard you talk, and I was like, that damn voice. I know who that is. Who is this guy? And it wasn't until you hit the stage. It wasn't until you hit the stage and you started speaking that I realized that's where I know this guy from. So if you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and everybody's going to realize where they know you from.
Well, some may know where they know me from, but so I was a cop for 34 years.
Right.
I did 10 years as a cop in New Jersey, 24 with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and many people know me from the TV show Cops.
That's it right there.
I was one of the most featured officers on that show in my younger days. I was on in the seasons of 1989, which is freaking ancient history now, 89, 94, 96, and then was in some movies like Casino, Fools Rush In, Miss Congeniality, and some TV shows. And also I do a lot of news commentating for Fox, Newsmax, CBS, HLN. So I've been on media a lot, and that's probably where people know me from.
Roger that. And when you said that, I was like, that's when I realized, man, this guy's been in my life since, because I've watched Cops since it first started. This guy's been in my life since 1989. So for almost 30 years, you've been in my life, and I never knew it. You know, so,
that's a little weird, okay?
I know, it is. But thank you for being part of my life, because I've watched you, and I can't deny that watching you, and of course the show, was part of what got me into my law enforcement career. So thank you for all you did for the people of Las Vegas and everybody out there. Appreciate that. But brother,
well, I appreciate you saying that. And you know, it's amazing the reach that show has. I'm going to tell you that I have had no less than 20, 25 police officers in Las Vegas, Metro PD, who approached me and said, Randy, the reason I joined Metro was because I saw you on Cops.
Right.
So the reach of that show is amazing. And then I've heard, I'm going to say several hundred police officers from around the nation reached out to me and said that they got interested in a police career from seeing me on Cops. So, you know, it's a very powerful medium, television, and also that show.
I watched it for since it started, and I've known through the past 30 years, I've got to know a lot of cops that were on that show as well. I'm in Texas, so I got to know a lot of the Fort Worth cops and a lot of cops down in Miami. I forgot the guy's name, but he was on the Marine Patrol, and he was always Broward Sheriff's Office down with us when I was in the Coast Guard down in Miami. But so you were a cop in Las Vegas Metro, and you retired.
Yeah, I retired not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I had a stroke in my police car after 24 years, and it was devastating to me. It literally took everything away from me. Took my career, took my health. My mother died in my arms 3 weeks before that. I was in a fatal shooting a couple of months before. So there was a lot going on, but it was a life-changing experience for me. And then something happened that I never would have expected, and that was my own police department turned its back on me and said, we're not paying your medical bills. And that experience was devastating, but it led me to the current path that I'm on,
right?
Which I have to tell you is probably one of the most important things, actually the most important thing I've done in my police career, and that was to found the organization called the Wounded Blue, the National Assistance and support organization for injured and disabled officers. This is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my career, because men and women throughout the United States who are serving behind the badge have served. Many of these men and women, once they become physically injured, psychologically injured, literally face a life of, where they lose their careers,
right,
and their own departments turn their backs on them. So this is what I'm doing now today.
And I was just researching the Wounded Blue. There's a movie out. Is there? There's a trailer out. Where can everybody watch that?
We have a documentary film called The Wounded Blue: Service, Sacrifice, Betrayed. It's on Amazon.com. I urge everybody to watch this movie because it will blow your minds. Everybody thinks, and this is actually part of one of the issues that we have with raising money, and that is that I tell someone that if a cop who gets shot in the line of duty can sometimes be thrown away, not receive the proper medical treatment, not receive a pension. And they look at me like, well, what are you talking about? That's impossible. But it's not impossible. It's happening across America.
It does.
And so this is one of the things that we fight all the time, is trying to bring reality to the equation.
Right. And the Wounded Blue, and anybody across the country can help you out with that and participate in part of the Wounded Blue.
Absolutely. In fact, it's funny because on social media, for years, I've had people contact me and say, Randy, we support our police. How do we show it?
Right.
Well, I didn't really have an answer until I created the Wounded Blue. But now you can show your support for law enforcement by donating $5, $10, $25, whatever it is you can afford, because the Wounded Blue has these programs that are literally saving lives of injured and disabled officers across the nation. There's no better way. Be a hero to these heroes. Go to thewoundedblue.org and donate a few bucks. That way you can be a hero to these heroes. So
does a police officer have to be off the job in order to benefit from your organization, or can they still be like active duty? Like I'm asking for like these cops that are responding to these child deaths here in Uvalde, Texas, and they're going to be suffering from this PTSD.
Oh no. You absolutely. I mean, most of the people that we work with are active duty.
Roger that.
I actually have a team in Texas right now who are responding to the suicide of a police officer, and we were working with that department to provide some counseling. So, we exist to help law enforcement officers,
right.
either present duty or retired, because the traumas that these men and women are going through, both on the street and also from their own administrations, is taking a massive toll on the police.
Randy, I wish you guys had been around 20-something years ago when I was going through my deal, man. I was falling apart, because back then it was the early days of the internet. There wasn't a lot of veteran organizations around. One of the big things I did, I responded to flight TWA 800 off of Long Island, New York, back in the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. And we barely got any counseling for that. And when I ended up facing the federal government and ended up, with my career ending, I didn't know what was happening, because I grew up in the cities of New York, Randy, and I did all my best to stay on the right path. I didn't do everything right, but I tried my best to stay on the right path. Joined the service. I said, you know what? I'll give up 4 years. I'm going to join the Coast Guard. That way I get a law enforcement career going on here. And I ended up staying 9. And when I got out, went straight into the Border Patrol the very next day. And back in 2001, as you know, I told you before, I pushed an illegal alien on the ground, apparently violated his civil rights. Next thing I know, I'm facing prison time. And I'm trying to figure out how this is happening to me. And I'm not going to deny you that I thought about doing some things a couple of times. And it's just, I was falling apart. And I wish there was been an organization like yours to help me out, because.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the police officers across the nation small towns, big cities are facing challenges like never before.
Right.
Because not only are they under attack by groups, like Black Lives Matter and Antifa and other literally, organized groups that are trying to destroy policing as we know it.
Right.
But they're also facing their own administrations. And I can't tell you how many times I hear this phrase, hey, Randy, I'm not afraid of going out on the street. I'm not afraid of the bad guys. I'm afraid of my own chief and the administration.
Exactly.
And that's heartbreaking to me. Heartbreaking.
Exactly. And when you went through your stuff, so you had a stroke in a police vehicle and they wouldn't help you at all.
They just said, we're not paying your bills.
Wow.
I said, well, what do you mean? You have to pay my bills. It's in the statute.
Exactly.
And they said, yeah, well, take us to court. And that's what I had to do. It took me over a year. They ruined my credit. They ruined my, I had bill collectors knocking on my door. And they spent tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money to fight me.
Wow. Knowing
that they had to pay. But you see, here's what it is. And I didn't know this at the time because this is a common occurrence in the workers' comp system. They know they have to pay, but they refuse. And they force you to go to court and fight them every step. Sometimes it takes years to get a hearing. And they're hoping that you're either going to die or you're going to give up. And many people, unfortunately, actually do both.
Exactly. And you know what? You just sparked something in my head because one of the things that one of the prosecutors in my case, we happened to end up in the bathroom at the same time, and he started some small talk, and I asked him straight up. I was like, "Do you really think I'm guilty of this?" And he told me, "It doesn't matter what I think. I have a $50 million budget to make sure you go to jail. And you're going. It's just a matter of how long." And what you said right there, Randy, is a fact. And Bernard Kerik said something like this in his book too. Who has the money to fight the government? Whether it's a state government, even a small, local sheriff's department or a small municipal police department. I guarantee you, they have more deeper pockets than I do. And
absolutely.
And a lot of officers don't realize that.
And a lot of what?
A lot of officers don't realize that.
No, because no one expects that you're going to be turned on by
your own
the same people that you literally put your life in the line for.
Exactly.
And yet it happens all the time.
And so you started this, to help, again, officers suffering from PTSD or just officers that just can't pay their bills. What exactly is it that y'all do? I mean, I know you provide counseling and stuff like that, but what's the extent of it? Because I really want to get this out there for officers to hear, because I got a lot of cops that listen to this show.
Well, our mission statement is really simple: to improve the lives of injured and disabled officers through support, education, assistance, and legislation.
Outstanding.
See, this problem is much bigger than just a singular issue. The officers themselves who are being victimized often by a corrupt system of workers' compensation, which is just, depending on where you are, will depend on how you're treated. For instance, if you're a New York City cop and you get shot, stabbed, you get hit by a car, there's a strong union there. So at least you're going to get decent medical. At least that you're going to get a pension if you can't work anymore. That's not the situation in a lot of different places.
That's what I was going to ask you, if Las Vegas Metro had a union.
Yeah, it does have a union, but it is a right-to-work state.
Right.
It's not anything like it is back east, where the strong unions really make a difference.
Yeah,
really make a difference. So our organization, the most important thing that we do is peer support, because our motto is never forgotten, never alone. Because when I was creating this organization, I had no intention of creating a charitable organization and devoting my life to it when I retired.
Right.
I retired because, I became physically disabled, and I was going to, live my life in, writing and speaking and things like that. And then cops from around the country started reaching out to me just because of my visibility in the law enforcement community, telling me, Randy, I know you don't know me, but I was hit by a car, I was shot, I was stabbed, whatever it was. And my own department has turned its back on me. I don't know what to do. And because of all of these heartbreaking calls and messages, every one of them ended the same way. I feel forgotten. I feel alone. I don't know what to do. And that's why our motto is never forgotten and never alone. Because my entire team that works with me, we call this team Peer Advocate Support Team, because they have all been shot. They've all been stabbed, beaten, run over, screwed up, screwed over. And they want to continue to serve. And they do so honorably. They do so giving of themselves so that the men and women who are facing similar circumstances know they are not alone and know that there's someone they can talk to. And we've helped more than 10,000 police officers just the last few years.
That's awesome. That is like completely amazing. It's the Wounded Blue. Throw me the website real quick, Randy, so I can put it up. I'll put it up right here so that people can see it.
TheWoundedBlue.org. That's TheWoundedBlue.org. And, they can go to it. They can see who we are, what we do. If you're a police officer and you're suffering in silence because you feel like there's nobody to talk to, that's why we exist. That's why we're here. And we've saved a lot of lives, because you and I both know that the suicide rate for law enforcement is absolutely through the roof. And
I've struggled with being a statistic myself, brother.
Yeah, and you and many others. And if we don't work together, and we don't have a resource that we can turn to, there's going to be a whole lot more deaths. And
Absolutely.
Every one of these officers that is serving today or served yesterday is deserving of the respect and deserving of everything that we can do to help them make it through the crisis that they're going through.
This job that we do, whether in whatever capacity it is that you do it, whether you're a city cop, sheriff's deputy, state trooper, federal agent, they put you through these academies and they teach you all kinds of things, but they don't prepare you for the things that happen, for what happens, post a situation, the challenges that come up on you. A lot of people just aren't ready for. You know what?
But here's the thing, Gary. I'm not sure that there is any system that can prepare a person to become a cop. I don't think it exists. Because when you become a cop, you enter into years of service where you're going to see humanity at its worst.
Exactly.
And so I don't know if there's a way to prepare people for that. We would like to think that there is, but I've racked my brain for years. I was a police trainer for many, many years. I was in charge of advanced training for the 9th largest police department in the country, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. And I could not figure a way to coherently prepare officers in a way that they would not be, severely affected by the trauma that they see. I wish there was if there's a way, I'd like to know what the hell it is.
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't seen a way to do it yet. So we work at the best way that we can to prepare our officers as best we can.
And that's the point that I was trying to make, was they don't prepare you. They teach you all this basic stuff to get, in situations, but once something happens, they don't stand by you. And that's where your organization comes in. And the reason I say that was because when I was going through my situation, and mind you, my situation is a completely different situation as opposed to something happened on the street, but I was being prosecuted. and I had no idea what to do. And like you, we had a union. My union was like, well, good luck. If you win your case, we'll give you 75% of your attorney's fees back. So I said, I need attorney's fees. What are you talking about, you know? But, and that's what I'm saying. Your organization can help somebody when they don't know what to do.
Right, and that is why we exist.
Exactly.
Never forgotten, never alone. We do the best that we can, and unfortunately, I wish we had the resources that we need. You know, but you know, raising money for a police charity is really, really difficult.
It is.
I can't tell you the number of corporations that said, "Randy, hey man, we really love what you're doing, but we can't put our name on that."
Really?
They'll give you know, $2 million to Black Lives Matter,
Right?
But to a police charity, you can't put our name on that.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, so you know, this is the reality in which we live. So we just keep on doing the best we can. We're fighting the best we can, and we'll continue that fight.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you about was when you were a police officer, did you see this going on, you know, in your subordinates or, you know, in your department with other guys before it happened to you? Had this idea ever clicked on you before to start something like this or to reach out to something like this?
No, I had never ever thought about doing this. Now, listen, you know, I was a cop for 34 years. I was 10 years in New Jersey, 24 with Las Vegas Metro. So believe me, I saw plenty of injustice within the administrations of both organizations. You know, power, unfortunately, even the minimal amount of power that is given to a police administrator, sometimes affects people negatively.
Right.
They don't know how to handle that power. And believe me, I've seen, you know, I've worked with amazing police leaders who do the job right, who mentor others, who create an environment of you know, a positive work environment where people want to come to work,
exactly,
want to do the job, believe that their leadership is behind them. And then I've seen just the opposite. I've seen police leaders and supervisors that only care about their own ladder climbing through the hierarchy of the department, right. Or once they become enmeshed in leadership positions, change and somehow forget where they came from.
Right.
So you know, it's I've seen the best, I've seen the worst, and you know, when you are a police officer and you are yourself going through the steps of your career, learning from the best and learning from the worst are the most valuable lessons that you can get when you yourself are going through your police career. Take the best of the leadership that you see, absorb that, and discard the worst of the leadership, the selfishness,
exactly,
the heavy-handedness.
That's what I used to tell
It's the only way to tell. It's the only way to learn and grow.
That's what I used to tell a lot of my trainees. I said, you're going to see a lot of different personalities and attitudes here on the patrol. You know, take what you can from the best, and then when you see the ones that you don't like or you know they're doing it wrong, take that too and realize what not to be. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I got to tell you, the best leadership lessons I ever learned were from the worst leaders that I was involved with. But yet, you know, here's the thing. Let me give you an example of life-changing leadership moment for me. This is when I was still a cop in New Jersey, and I worked for this small town department. And I got to tell you, the politics in a small department is worse than the politics in a big department, because in a big department you can actually go hide somewhere. Right. In a small department, everybody knows everybody's business. You all grew up together, so it's a whole different dynamic. So when I was a young cop, I had the great good fortune to work for a cop, a sergeant, who I knew from before he made rank, but he was a natural leader. He didn't have a college degree. He didn't, go to the National Academy, at least at that point. But he was somebody that you wanted to follow because you knew that he was someone who had the courage to do the job, who cared about the people that worked for him. And I was I got on the job really young. I was 19.
Wow.
And I look back on the decisions that I made when I was a 19-year-old cop, and I got a shudder. I shake my head and I go, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" I did what?
How'd I survive that?
Everything was very black and white to me, Gary. I mean, It was right and wrong. I arrested everybody. Everybody went to jail. Everybody got a ticket. There was no gray. It was just, here it is.
Right and wrong.
Right and wrong. I'm 20 years old, after I get out of the New Jersey State Police Academy, and I'm writing nuns tickets, and you name it. I was doing all kinds because I believed that it was very black and white, but I worked my ass off, right? So I go to work for this sergeant who I had a tremendous amount of respect for, and I worked my butt off, And one day we're getting off graveyard shift, and he says, "Let's go to breakfast." I said, "Okay," and we go to this little diner in New Jersey, and I'm telling him, "Hey, Al, yeah, that's what I did last night. I did this, I did that." And he's nodding and shaking his head, yeah. And then he says to me, he says, "Randy, I got to tell you, man, you're really a good cop." I went, "Yeah?" He says, "Yeah, you are." He says, "You work your ass off. You have a great understanding of the laws of search and seizure. You're out there working all the time. You are a good cop." He says, "But let me ask you a question. Do you know the difference between being a good cop and being a great cop?" And I got to tell you, Gary, that question took me by surprise. I said,
"No kidding."
I said, "No, I don't." He says, and he got this smile on his face. I remember it. And he said, looked at me, he says, "It's one word. It's called compassion." And it was a pivotal moment in my life and a pivotal moment in my police career. Because it was like he turned a light on. And he didn't lecture me. He didn't beat me about the head with it. He led me to understand that compassion was one of the most important components of being a cop. And I never did policing the same way for the rest of my life. And it changed me as a cop, changed me as a police leader as I wound up, being a police leader.
And that's outstanding, Randy, because that is true. I didn't have anybody tell me those words, but they told me you need to empathize with people and understand what they're going through. You don't have to actually feel sorry for them. You need to understand what people are going through, and especially the field I was in, dealing with people coming across the country from another country that had nothing. Right. Randy, during my trial, U.S. attorney had asked me if, so you're saying you never break the rules? I said, yeah, I've broken the rules. I said, when I picked up a couple of aliens that were walking on the street and they were dying of thirst, I went in the store and bought them water with my own money, which I'm not supposed to do, and I left them in the vehicle by themselves. That was wrong. There was another guy, I still remember, I believe he was from El Sal, and this dude, he had been robbed in Mexico, and he came across, and all he had was jeans, a T-shirt, and he had a woman's coat. And it was cold out here in Texas at that time. He had his woman's coat with short sleeve. The sleeves reached him up to his forearms. I felt so bad for this guy that when we let him walk, I knew he was heading to the bus stop. I actually gave him some money so that he can get some food and make it to where he was going. That was against the rules. But it's not all about just, being hard charging. You're right. And that's freaking awesome, Randy. So I got a lot of young cops that listen to this show. I got this young lady up in NoCal, and she follows this podcast religiously. I got a lot of cops in California, and any good words that you want to give them here before we close out? Any good words that you want to let them know just about life, and again, bring out your organization again, just so that they can have it.
Yeah, I got a couple things to say. First of all, you don't need to be alone in dealing with the traumas that every single police officer will deal with throughout their career. We try to be as macho as humanly possible. The days of, hey, suck it up, buttercup, are still with us in many places.
Embrace the suck.
And yet, and you don't have to do this alone. There are people that love you, that care for you. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. And if you don't have a strong support system, come to an organization like mine, because my entire team of cops, they literally continue to serve despite their injuries, despite their disabilities, despite their traumas, because they care about the other people who are dealing with the same issues that they are. So you don't have to be alone. The Wounded Blue exists for you. Go to thewoundedblue.org, reach out to us, go to our Facebook page. If you have an issue and you want to talk, call me personally or get a hold of me, Randy at thewoundedblue.org. We're very, very accessible. I also have a new book coming out in 2 months called Rescuing 911, The Fight for America's Safety. And because I don't sit on the sidelines, Gary, I do everything I can to bring to the public's attention what men and women that are serving or have served are going through. And Rescuing 911 goes into how we as Americans, how we as a national community can work together to push back on this false narrative depicting law enforcement officers as the bad guys. Because no matter what you say, there is no more noble career than putting on that badge and going out there on the street and working your ass off for the public that you serve. That's the most noble job that there is. Don't ever let anybody tell you differently. Don't ever let the media dictate to you what your thoughts and your processes are internally. Because doing the job the way we are meant to do it is being a warrior. And a warrior doesn't mean that you're at war all the time. A warrior means that you can protect yourself, which is the most important thing that a cop can do. Protect themselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, and go home to your family, do your 20, 25 years, and know that you probably touched more lives than you'll ever know.
I agree with that, Randy. There's a what was that little saying? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I agree with that.
Hold on a second. What? Say it again.
You were talking about being a warrior. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Okay, well, that's not something I've ever heard of before, but I guess that makes sense in some weird way. But okay, all right.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's when I was going through some difficult times in my life, and like I said, I'm part of quite a few police organizations. And man, all my cops, they all told me, they said, dude, when you come back, we're going to be here. We're still going to be patrolling the street. We're still going to be here for you. And me having been in the Coast Guard and also in the Border Patrol, I was the rescuer. I was the guy that went out and helped people. Yeah. But sometimes you need to be helped. And I've come to realize that a lot, especially in the past few years. I've needed to be helped a lot. And it's there's no shame in having somebody extend their hands towards you and you grab it, because I've had to do that quite a bit, man.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
A lot of the things that I've been through, Randy, have taught me a lot about the system, a lot about the politics of the system, and but it's also humbled me down quite a bit. It's because I've seen, you know, from where I strive to get to, from where I worked so hard to get to be crushed down and just having to rebuild myself. I've seen what it's like. And like I said, organizations like yours and people that think like you do, I got a lot of friends that are really good cops and they've actually pulled me through is what this is about. And like you said, I grew up in New York City. And back then, I'm going to be 56 years old. So I grew up in New York City during the 70s and 80s. And it was a whole different breed of NYPD back then, brother. You know, it was a whole different breed of NYPD. And we had our beat cops, and those beat cops were also like our mentors. You know, they protected us, and we were street kids. They protected us, and when the time came down to it, and if it need be, shit, we protect them. You know, because they were our cops, they were our beat cops in the projects. You know,
sure.
But man, Randy, I want to thank you so much for coming on, brother. I know this was kind of short notice from yesterday, and I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming on. People, go to thewoundedblue.org. That's thewoundedblue.org, and I'll keep you all posted when Randy's book, Rescue Me 911, comes out. I'll post all the information, and reach out, man. Reach out if you can help somebody, and if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out yourself. So appreciate it, brother.
People can actually get on the wait list for the book right now if they go to rescuing911.org. Rescuing911.org. Just hit the I want to be on your wait list, and we'll notify you when the book comes out. Very easy. Outstanding.
So people get on there. I'm going to put the website up here. Make sure you check it out. All right, Randy, we're going to roll out. How's that?
All right. Good talking to you.
Oh, yeah. So my buddy Big Daddy Roughneck is fighting some health problems. But he would say, for all of you, be safe, stay frosty, and always watch your six. I need to stay safe, stay vigilant, be savage. God bless y'all. God bless Texas. And God bless America. Thank y'all for being here. I'll catch you on episode 102 coming up here soon. Thank you so much. Peace.